Ah, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. What a film. It really is popular. But why? Well, first, let's do a little history lesson. Scott Pilgrim is a graphic novel series by Brian Lee O'Malley that ran from 2004 to 2010. Now, I haven't read any of them, but I am most certainly interested. Might read them whenever I get the chance. Hello, this is future me here, editing the video. While editing this video, I actually went out and bought all the Scott Pilgrim comics. And I have to say, they are very, very good. I mean, there's actually a lot in this series of books that, like, compared to the movie, like, the books are, like, really big. I mean, of course, I completely underestimated just how much there would be in this, but yeah, without spoiling anything in particular, because this video isn't about the books, this is about the movie. Yeah, I'd recommend you read them if you can. So yeah, I'll bring you back to the video now. Bye. One day, a group of people in suits from Universal Studios went to O'Malley, who had just completed the first volume of the series, along with the publishers, Oni Press. Universal said, "We gonna make a movie based on your work." O'Malley was hesitant at first, saying there could be too much action and would feature an actor he hates, but at the same time, he admitted that he was a struggling artist and desperately needed money, so he accepted their terms. Edgar Wright agreed to become director, and 6 years later, the film came out. When it comes to the big EW, I am a huge fan of his. He is my favourite director who is responsible for directing my favourite movie, Hot Fuzz. He's got such a distinct style, with mostly deadpan but witty humour, great character dynamics, and fantastic fight choreography, so it just made sense to hire him for this movie. Now pay attention, lads, because these questions will be on the test. Is the movie good? Is it bad? Does it go well with garlic sauce? Well, let's find out. The film follows Scott Pilgrim, a down-on-his-luck bass player of a struggling indie band called Sex Bob-omb. I mean, I'm not surprised they're failing when this is the kind of music they play. He shares an apartment with his gay roommate, Wallace Wells, and is dating a 17-year-old girl named Knives Chow. Aw, that's sweet. But wait, let me check how old Scott is.
I'm 22. 22.
Oh, shit.
Bang, see you later, you go in prison. You go in prison. And you're getting named and shamed.
How desperate does one man have to be to get a girlfriend that he's willing to be with some underage girl? I don't care if the age of consent in Canada is 16 and he hasn't done anything illegal to her. It's still sad that he would resort to this. So naturally, his friends chastise him for dating Knives. We see the gang go to a house party one night, and it's there where Scott sees a girl named Ramona Flowers, a delivery girl with mysterious powers.
No, it's just you have this really convenient subspace highway running through your head that I like to use. It's like 3 miles and 15 seconds.
Right.
But what made her stand out to him was the fact that she appeared in a dream of his.
Coincidence? I think not!
The band end up playing in a Battle of the Bands competition, sponsored by a billionaire named Gideon Greaves. While performing, Scott gets attacked by Ramona's ex-boyfriend, Matthew Patel. Scott beats him and finds out that he must defeat 6 more of Ramona's exes if he wants to date her. So like any normal dude, he dumps the underage Knives to pursue Ramona. And most likely because he doesn't want the FBI knocking on his door. Though he only does so after dating Ramona for a bit and doesn't tell Knives. As you can imagine, Knives doesn't take the news well. She blames Ramona for stealing Scott and swears to win him back. Honestly, Knives, if you cared about Scott, it's probably for the best that you don't get back together, unless you're okay with visiting him in jail. By the way, all of her exes are part of an organisation called the League of Evil Exes. I just love how unsubtle they are about the name.
Prepare to feel the wrath of the League of Evil Exes.
League of Evil Exes?
You really don't know about the League? The 7 evil exes coming to kill you, controlling the future of Ramona's love life?
Scott then defeats the next two Evil X's, Lucas Lee and Todd Ingram. In his fight with Todd, he discovers that his ex, Envy Adams, is dating Todd. Scott, before this point, doesn't like bringing her up because he's a bit jealous of her success as a pop star after they split. He confronts her after the fight and they reconcile. By the time he defeats her fourth Evil X, Roxy Richter, he becomes annoyed with the whole process and Ramona breaks up with him after he had an outburst regarding her dating history. At the next battle of the bands, Scott beats her fifth and sixth Evil X's, Kyle and Ken Katanagi, and earns a 1-up. Remember this for later, it could be important. Scott finds out Ramona is back with her seventh and final Evil X, Gideon Graves. He offers a record deal to Sex Bob-omb, which they all accept, except for Scott, who quits in protest. He gets invited by Gideon to the Chaos Theatre where his band is playing. He goes with the intent of winning Ramona back. During his fight with Gideon, Knives attacks Ramona and Scott is forced to admit that he led both of them on. Gideon then stabs Scott in the back and kills him. Wow, I don't remember the film ending like this. Hold on, there's still more. Scott ends up in limbo and finds Ramona. She reveals that Gideon is mind controlling her the whole time and reminds him that he still has a 1-up. Yeah, I hope you remembered that. So he uses it to revive himself and fights Gideon again, but this time for himself. After apologizing to both Knives and Ramona, he joins forces with Knives to beat Gideon. Knives accepts that her relationship with Scott is over and moves on. Ramona is free from Gideon's mind control and gets back together with Scott. The end. I think as far as the story is concerned, it's actually fantastic. There was a lot of content cut from the source material. In spite of that, the movie is still faithful to the comic. Because of the limited runtime, it forced the filmmakers to fit in as much as possible from the comic, while still keeping everything coherent. This means that every scene and every piece of dialogue matters, no filler whatsoever. There's a saying that I'm sure has been said by a famous person before. It goes a little something like this. There are 3 things certain in life: death, taxes, and the characters in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World being the best aspect of the film. This movie contains a colourful set of characters. I could talk about the protagonist first, but let's shake things up a bit and do the antagonist first. The League of Evil X's is probably the best villain group in fiction. They're better than the Sinister Six, or as the 90s Spider-Man cartoon calls them, the Insidious Six, for some reason. My favourite member of the Evil X's is definitely Lucas Lee, a movie star and skateboarder. He's such a lovable arsehole that it's hard to hate him honestly, even though I feel like I'm supposed to. What elevates his character for me is the outstanding over-the-top acting from Chris Evans.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
He's really good at playing the cocky, arrogant jock who thinks he's too cool for the people around him.
You are a pretty good actor.
I'm going for the Oscar this year.
But are you a pretty good skater?
I'm more than pretty good, essay. I have my own skate company.
I love his portrayal of Johnny Storm in the 2000s Fantastic Four movies and his role as Hugh Drysdale in Knives Out, so it's no surprise that he's able to pull off Lucas Lee. Gideon Graves is pretty good, and Jason Schwartzman pulls off an intimidating and manipulating performance. I couldn't wait to see Scott punch his rich, pompous face. You can see why he's the leader of the league.
Oh, Scott. No, we really should be thanking each other. I mean, if it wasn't for me, Ramona would never have been with you, but if it wasn't for you, she wouldn't have gotten back with me, so I guess it all shakes out, huh?
But it is strange seeing Schwartzman in a movie that doesn't involve Wes Anderson. Just want to point that one out. The rest of the league is okay. It's not that I dislike them or anything, they're all compelling in their own way, such as Matty Patel, who looks like an emo Dennis the Menace and has an army of demon girls at his command. Todd Ingram has powers as a result of being vegan. Roxy Richter is a badass ninja, and the Katayanagi twins are DJs. But for me personally, I don't find them as interesting as Lucas or Gideon. The rest of the main cast is pretty good for the most part. Aubrey Plaza's Julie Powers is basically April from Parks and Rec. If you ever watch that show, you know what I'm talking about. She has this I'm fed up with everything, get out of my face attitude, and I'm all for it.
Excuse me, do you have anything by the Clash at Demon Head?
Have you tried the section marked The Clash at Demon Head?
Stacy, Scott's sister, who works with Julie at the coffee shop, loves spreading stories around with people she knows. She's alright, nothing wrong with her in my opinion. Young Neil is literally me. And it's not because we have similar names. He's just vibing the whole time, playing with his DS and not really contributing anything to the band. He eventually replaces Scott as the band's bass player and gets promoted to just Neil. I'm so proud of him. I like Wallace and how he's like a cynical foil to Scott whenever they're around, but also a voice of reason.
Hey, buddy, look. If she really is the girl of your dreams, then you have to let her know. You have to overcome any and all obstacles that lie in your path. You can do it. Be with her. It's your destiny. Plus, I need you to move out.
I like how Kim, the drummer of the band, is so sarcastic and spiteful towards Scott because he unceremoniously dumped her during high school.
Believe it or not, I actually dated Scott in high school.
Got any embarrassing stories?
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Stephen is the lead singer and guitarist of the band. Enough said. Brie Larson's Envy Adams is great because she's able to capture the envy. Oh, now I see why she's called that. You're a clever man, Brian. And last but not least, Knives. What does she see in Scott? I mean, just look at him. Speaking of which, Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim is probably one of the best casting decisions ever made in a feature-length film. He plays the timid yet outgoing nerdy guy without looking too unapproachable. He's like a pathetic guy who is forced into sticky situations and still comes out on top. He can be a dick at times, which can be really funny.
Where's Knives? Not coming in tonight?
No, we broke up. Hey, check it out. I learned the bass line from Final Fantasy II.
Scott dating a minor is most certainly not a good thing to do, but I do think that is the entire point of his character. All these things happening to Scott are supposed to show just how flawed he is as a person. You're not supposed to idolize him, nor should he be a role model. He does redeem himself somewhat by learning to respect himself and apologizing to the people he hurt, but it still doesn't excuse every bad thing he did. Just arrest this man, please. The visual effects are really good, but nothing mind-blowing. I like how, for a lack of a better term, retro video gamey it all feels. There really is no better way for me to describe them. They just fit the vibe the movie's going for aesthetically. The soundtrack is fine. I do thump my foot to the songs in the moment, but I can't remember any of them after a while. The romance is fine. Ignoring the Scott and Knives relationship, I am kind of mixed on the Ramona and Scott relationship. Ramona is a bit cold towards Scott, but Scott persists anyway because I imagine every time he sees her, he is probably suffering from epidemial hypertension. Don't look it up. When it comes to the comedy side of things, this movie is hilarious. There are so many jokes I liked that I can't fit them all into this video. That's because I would be showing you the entire film and that would result in me getting banned from YouTube. So instead I will show you some of my favourite out of context moments from the movie.
Hey, let me get your coat.
Hi.
Knives, that's Kim. You know this one girl with hair like this?
Yes, that's Ramona Flowers.
Guess who's drunk?
You got mail.
Dude, this thing claims I have mail. Wow. Girl number... Thank you. We need to play now and loud. I sort of feel like I'm on drugs when I'm with you. Not that I do drugs, unless you do drugs, in which case I do drugs all the time.
Is Scott here?
You know what? He just left.
It's my ex.
We need stalkers.
I gotta pee on her.
He punched a hole in the moon for me.
Freeze! Vegan police! Vegan police!
Oh.
That poster needs more exclamation marks.
Because I'm in lesbians with you.
Jeez, buddy, it's gonna be all right.
No, I just spilled hot cocoa on my crotch.
You made me swallow my gum.
Let's both be girls.
It's all elevated by the chemistry these actors have together. Every joke and every line delivery is said with the confidence of LeBron James playing basketball against people under 5'6". Conversations flow so naturally like a river that you swear every actor knew each other all their lives. It really is that good. I honestly can't think of anything else I like about this movie. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest my case. Now, with all of these positives in mind, I'm sure this movie will end up being a huge success in the cinema and raked in a massive... Yeah, it's a shame this movie failed at the box office. On a budget of $60 to $65 million, it only managed to gross just shy of $50 million. This is certainly an example of a movie getting more popular well after its initial release. It's kind of like the US Office, because they both started to become more popular after they came out. I remember first seeing the movie around early 2019. Before then, I didn't know much about the franchise. After watching it, I wished I had seen it sooner. This is the kind of stuff I would have loved as a preteen. Not long after watching the movie, I played the Ubisoft beat-em-up game, which also came out in 2010. I gave up because it was too hard.
Hit it. Hit it. Hit it for me!
I recently finished watching Scott Pilgrim Takes Off on Netflix, an anime adaptation of the graphic novels, with all of the original main cast reprising their roles. It shows an alternate timeline version of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I really enjoyed watching it. Really great all around. By this point, the Scott Pilgrim brand was bigger than it was in 2010 when the movie came out, but it did make me think about the live action film a lot, and the show was the inspiration for me making a video on this movie. Rewatching the film now for this video made me realize just how much I appreciate it. If you like romance, comedy or action in your movies, then definitely give this movie a chance. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you noticed in any of my previous videos, you know that I actually have some of these cards that contain all the 7 Evil X's and Scott Pilgrim. I actually got them with my copy of the DVD. So what's the deal with these cards? Well, each card has an overall X rating, which could be maxed out at 10. So as you can see here, Matthew Patel has the lowest Evil X rating of 7, and Gideon Graves has the highest one with 10. But Scott is different. He has an overall awesomeness rating, which is 10. But you all know what isn't awesome, Scott? Dating a high school student.